Welcome everyone to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia Vigilantes edition. Today we are going to be reviewing My Hero Academia Vigilantes episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8, as we do on the My Hero portion of the podcast, do every 4 episodes. We have the My Hero enthusiast with us, Miss Andrea Alanis. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Doing well, Martin. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. We have another 4 episodes down with Vigilantes, and these episodes just continue to build on the overall lore and world of My Hero Academia that we've been watching for the past now 10 years, and it's added even more information that we did not know.
Definitely. There's a couple things that we got revealed to us in these last 4 episodes that I'm sure some of us, saw coming and others maybe didn't. Maybe one out of the two, unless I'm missing another big reveal that I'm not remembering right now. But yeah, it was exciting. I feel like these episodes were a good kind of, I don't know about you, but I feel like these 4 episodes slowed down a bit compared to like building everything up really quickly in the first four. Um, we're just getting deeper in, like you said, and getting more into the like some day to day and for Koichi, our main character, his social life, I guess we'll say, and personal life as well.
Yeah, and perfect segue into the 5th episode because that mostly talks about his social life, how he had a friend
Misunderstanding. It was a total
misunderstanding,
yeah.
very which everyone has been a part of or had in their days, especially as you said, Coach, he's in college, so
Mm-hmm.
definitely at that point, it was just he was inviting some people to his house, just like if you were American
Most of
college
us
of
do, yeah.
inviting people to your dorm room that you want to meet, hang out in your dorm room. It just went dark, literally.
Yeah, just, a classic case of miscommunication station. We get the clip of kind of their point of view. And of course, because we know Koichi is like, this doesn't feel quite right. Plus, we also have the added knowledge of like knowing what he's trying to say. So, yeah, like if you have no context, you just met this person, they're grabbing you by the hand saying they're going to take you to the top of the building. Yeah, that's a little sketchy. But again, we know Koichi, we know that's where he lives, and his quirk, allows him to get up there. And really, just personal strength. It's not like he can carry the whole group at one time. But of course, you know, miscommunication, misunderstandings, misinterpretations. And honestly, it was a girl, the one that he offered to take up first. And so from her perspective, better safe than sorry. But unfortunately, he was then dubbed with a negative nickname and branding throughout the school, which also gives me like small college vibes. I don't know if any of our listeners have gone to, large universities versus like small town colleges, because ooh, sometimes you can't shake that stuff in small town colleges at all, if not like extremely like it's not an easy feat if you're able to shake it at all. But yeah, like that was just hurt my heart a little bit because it's like, I mean, he's just a nice dude. Y'all just kind of took it the wrong way, and it doesn't seem like anybody so far is really giving him a chance beyond that.
No, no one has. Hence why he's had to go through college alone and with no friends, no study group, no support system. Like, just because of that one incident, and he's been labeled in such a way that, again, nobody wants to give him a chance, which is unfortunate. And then, he's trying to look on the bright side because that's what main characters do. He's like, oh, I have a great place to live.
Mm-hmm.
But, and he never thought that he would have the two Pop Step and Knuckle Duster just coming to his house uninvited whenever they want and eating his
Right.
food, drinking his drinks, smoking in his place. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's finding his own group of friends as people do, finding their own groups in many different ways, which is kind of funny.
Hmm. Yeah, it was one of those where we get that whole episode was predicated on the whole like this is what I thought my college experience was, and it was the super, stereotypical. I thought I was gonna have all these friends and be partying it up and doing great at school, and he even had the thing about his part-time job where he was gonna be like doing really well or they really valued him, and nothing was nothing was panning out that way, and I'm not sure if other people had that experience, but that's what my experience was kind of like in college, where I expected XYZ. And it definitely, hit expectations when it came to being difficult, hard, spending a lot of time studying. But then that expectation of like trying to be a different person in college than you were growing up or in high school, yeah, that you can definitely fall short of that. But yeah, just settling into his reality of, yeah, he didn't have anybody, but now he has his community, his support system. Yeah, Pop Step doesn't really, can't help him with his college homework and stuff. And Knuckle Duster is just kind of hanging around, but they provide him, you know, a sense of belonging and just general emotional support and friendship. So by the end of the episode, we see that he's really pretty happy with the arrangement.
Right. We won't stay too long on this episode. So then also one of the big cruxes of this episode, one big crux, is talking about the All Might hoodie,
Yes.
how it makes him feel brave and all of that. And we go into backstory because, like we've been able to watch him. This will be the fifth four episodes in. He has I guess anyone can make their quirk good in some way. Good-hearted guy, all of that. He's in college, all that. So why didn't he become a hero? Why didn't he take the hero exam? We finally get to see that backstory of
Right.
how he missed the
Entrance exam.
entrance
Yeah,
exam, and Lord and behold, it is all connected.
it is. I did not see that coming. Did you see that coming?
Mm-mm.
So that is outside of I guess the two that I mentioned off the top of my head. So that's my bad. I got one for three. Anyway, yeah, no, that he was, he had his test. He's from the countryside, which I don't know if he stated earlier or I just got more clarification on in the latest episode. So he's in town, he's in Tokyo to take the entrance exam, and he's on his way, and he comes across a kid that's struggling in what seems like a creek or a river,
Yep.
and yeah, is low key drowning, splashing around, like calling for help. And of course, he's about to take the UA entrance exam. He's trying to be a hero. He wants to be a hero. So he does the heroic thing, jumps in there to help the kid. Turns out, kiddo wasn't necessarily drowning because it wasn't all that deep. However, they were freaked out, scared. It don't matter. You can drown in less than an inch of water. Fun fact. Anyway, um, so takes care of the kid, gives them one of his limited edition All Might hoodies,
Yep.
and it's the one that he is currently missing from the collection because I forgot how many there are. Was it 12? Like there's 12.
Mm-hmm.
He has one for each of the different eras and costuming of All Might. And so he's missing one. And this is a story of how he, gave it away doing a heroic deed. And partially because of this, he missed his entrance exam to UA and never got to test to see if, he had the stuff to get into the school and join the hero course and all that good stuff. But then, lo and behold, we start hearing about the story from another viewpoint from one of our main characters. And it turns out the kid who Koichi thought was a boy, a little boy, was actually a young Pop Step. So Pop Step still has that hoodie. And this kind of connects into the very first episode to me when she like kind of seemed to take notice of him in the crowd and why, because to me at the time it was like he's just a random guy. Is she just connecting with all of her audience like that? I mean, that's kind of cool if she is, like, as a performer and as an idol, that's cool. But now it's no, she recognized him. And so then when he started acting as Mr. Nice Guy, she knew. She put it all together, and that's part of why she's been helping him out.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny too because he thought that because of the way her hair was when she was
Mm-hmm.
littler, that it was a dude. So, obviously we can't wait for that reveal because that reveal is gonna if is gonna be happening
If,
probably
right.
near if we don't know what happens to these characters obviously past this series. So then that's the big thing with that. We also have another big thing where Akira, Akira is the one who can go to the rock hardening, becomes like the big freaking. He looks like Golem with spikes from Pokemon when he turns into like
Yeah.
his rock hardening mode today.
Yes.
So he's causing a mess.
Hmm.
And this was an interesting line in that when they were Pop Step and Crawler were trying to take him out. Crawler was asking like, "How come he's not in jail
Hmm.
yet?" And then they said a line of, I'm trying to find the exact quote because I really caught my. He hasn't committed enough crimes with his quirk to be vilified as a villain yet.
Right.
Which I was just like, okay, all right.
So that, again, that made that to me goes back to my whole argument about what's his face? Gentle Criminal, that
Mm-hmm,
he used his quirk inappropriately one time with negative consequences and he
mm-hmm,
was labeled a villain. And it was just the one time.
mm-hmm.
And it was a clear accident, but he's been labeled a villain. So that it starts to get confusing to me, but also that made sense as well because I mean, in the real world, you have in the United States, you have misdemeanors and you have felonies. So after so many, you can get, you have enough of a history, we're going to bump you up, or X amount of misdemeanor charges of this nature, you're going to get more jail time. So like you're going to be seen as a more, I don't want to say hardened criminal, like more of a career criminal, or that you have a pattern of history of criminal behavior. Whereas Gentle Criminal, in the sense, literally had a one off situation that was an accident and he was vilified for it. Whereas it makes sense that somebody does something kind of small and quote unquote petty, like petty crimes, and they're not going to be classified as a villain and thrown in Tartarus. But at the same time, it's still that valid concern of like they were causing a mess. How many strikes until they're finally like given a serious punishment? Opens up that whole conversation.
Now, it also depends. I mean, if you're applying it to the real world, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, who's your lawyer and what's the offense? Because there's a lot of, and I know from firsthand experience, there's a lot of people who have first time offenses who they're already on probation or something like that. And if they mess up on that, they're going to prison.
Right.
So it's differing layers of that, which makes no sense that, like you said, Gentle Criminal really, from what we saw,
True.
he has not hurt anyone really for real. While Akira over here was rampaging through the city for now the second time.
Right.
Um, and again, like if you're doing real world, he could say that yeah, he did it, but he was out of his mind because he took
He's
the
doped
drug
up.
trigger,
Mm-hmm.
but then he can't give up the supplier. So then it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things. If you're doing real work, can't give up the supplier, fine. We'll make an example out of you so
Right.
that anyone else who wants to buy and we squeeze the supplier out of their customers because we got little Queen
Mm-hmm.
Bee here out here supplying the trigger and all that stuff. So he's going absolutely crazy. Knuckle Duster is actually nowhere to be found
Right.
in this particular incident. So then I think this is one of your big ones. We have a
Yes.
mysterious hero show up. Sendall? Sendall? Is that his name?
Stendhal.
Sendall
Stendhal. And
show
we're
up.
just all looking around like, excuse me, you look familiar. You seem familiar. What is this? And then it's the next episode that we actually get the confirmation, right? Or is it at the
It's
end of the episode?
next episode
Yeah.
because he shows up in his mask, says he's like a person like the crawler
Mm-hmm.
smokes smokes Akira,
Right.
and then he unleashes. Then he slices the criminal in one clean stroke. He kills him. Like
Yeah.
Koichi, I mean, he does not see that part, but yeah, he killed
No.
him.
Yep. Cut his head off.
Yeah,
Was
so
straight, just unceremoniously cut his head off, exacted their, and I'm sure he monologued at this point, but did a monologue about exacting justice
Yeah.
after these crimes. And I was like, wait, wait, where have we seen this before?
Yeah, he
So
killed him,
yeah.
and then they end the episode of him looking at his next targets. It's Soga and his little crew,
Mm-hmm.
and then the worker bee queen, the mastermind behind the trigger at this point in time. She's
Mm-hmm.
looking at him like, "Ooh, I kind of this guy's interesting," and
This guy's cool. You're strong. Let me see
that's
what's
re-
up.
that's really the crux of this episode. Any other thoughts on episode 5?
No, I just wanted to talk about episode 6 because I was so hyped. I knew it. I knew it. Ooh, I knew it. As soon as I saw him, Stendhal's like, that's not too far. And you with the knife over here, covering your face. You have to be. You have to be him. You have to be Stain. You are. And what is it? He was. Just not yet,
Not
technically.
yet. More lore
So
building on how that came to be.
exactly.
Episode 6 really starts off with the Yakuza. Who obviously
Mm-hmm.
know we have their stuff they're talking about.
The changing times and
Mhm.
that they're villains too.
Even though they don't see themselves like that and
Mm-hmm.
like things like that. They're just drunk, they're chopping it up. And then just like you said, Sendal, he pulls up, crashing through the window, and then he starts taking all of them out. They try to use their quirks, and I think this was for people who didn't know, this was the
Yeah.
first time they're like, oh, why can't we use our quirks? And then his
Yep.
quirk, because he had their
Blood
blood,
curdle.
hmm stopped them from using their quirks, and then he took them all out. He
Yep.
catches the interest of Miss Worker Bee, calling himself Mr. Judgment. Later, actually, his code name. But he also said something cool too, like when they were conversating, because she was like, you should do this and this. He's like, nope, I am not Mr. Judgment or whatever that code name you're giving me, because I'm in my normal attire. I don't have a mask
Uh-huh.
on. So if I don't
Yep.
have a mask on, I'm just a simple human being. He
Yep.
believes his alias is something more, an embodiment of judgment, which
Mm-hmm.
occupies and winds the space between life and death. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't have a problem. What were your thoughts when he was talking? I'm surprised he didn't kill her, but again, plot.
Honestly, okay, that was my thoughts in any of their interactions. I'm like, bro, why have you not like what? Because I know I'm skipping ahead, but low
Mhm.
key, bro was contemplating and was trying to kill Koichi. So like you wouldn't have flipped on Queen Bee really. Anyway, yeah, no, he had so many really powerful lines, and I tried to look up a bunch of them before we did this to try to quote them, but it seems like because he has so many, it's hard to, unless you're going like minute by minute in the episode, it's hard to pinpoint them. Um, but yeah, that interaction was interesting. You know, that we know that at this point he goes by Stendhal. Stain is not in his periphery. So us as the audience, if you've watched My Hero, you know he becomes Stain. So like that's the question I was sitting with in the beginning. I was like, okay, so like when do you start calling yourself Stain? Like how does that evolution or progression or regression come about? Which is what this episode answers for us. And especially in setting it up, like you said, in the line early on in the episode when he specifically says when his mask is off, he's not Stendhal. Did he give us his actual name? I think he might have.
Uh,
Anyway, he did just say he's a normal, ordinary person.
yes.
However, when the mask is on, Stendhal is like a figure for justice, and he's beyond human. He's an idea. He's a ideal. So that sets up the later on. To me, I haven't quite decided, Martin. You can help me out with this, but I haven't quite decided if Stain is a regression or a progression of Stendhal. Because I debate because I mean, yes, when we meet Stain, he's the hero killer, so he's still killing. But because he's now killing heroes instead of And to our knowledge, he has only been killing heroes.
Yep.
He's not doing both.
Hmm.
In Stendhal, when he judges Koichi, because he basically has the line saying that doing good in the company of evil, so like even doing good on behalf of someone who, is a villain or is involved in crime makes you evil by association, essentially, is why he goes after Koichi, because he's protecting Soga from Stendhal. So Stendhal's going after him. So at that point, he's not really differentiating between true criminals and heroes. And once he becomes Stain, to our knowledge, he's only going after heroes, false heroes, which,
Yeah. So just from what we know, because Stain, Sendal, like when we get to My Hero Academia before Vigilantes, and now I can say if you've never watched Vigilantes and want to add more to your My Hero lore, definitely start watching.
mm-hmm,
Um, yeah, he's known as the hero killer. He's not known as like a killer. Like in terms of usually when people are named by a particular crime, that's what 99.9% your crime is. Like if you're known as the baby kill, you kill babies, or
mm-hmm,
you like if you're sexually assaulting women and then killing them, or this and that. That's what you're known as. So he's killed more heroes and villains in that time frame, which is strange because I would think Sendal right now before the change, he is more like the Punisher because the Punisher doesn't believe in like retribution or anything like that. He thinks if you commit the tiniest crime, you should die. Like that's just his
mm-hmm.
stick, and that's what his stick is right now. Because Koichi is trying to save Soba, like, hey, this isn't what he's. I mean, even something's wrong with him. Let's get him help, and he's just like, oh, so you're trying to help a criminal, which makes you a criminal by association. So
Association. Mm-hmm.
now I'm gonna try and kill you too, which is, and I got this is Koichi finally really like, oh, he's really trying to like kill him and kill me. Like this
Right.
is.
Like this is off the deep end. Like, because when Koichi first meets him, he's like, "Oh, this guy's great. Like he's cool. Like
Mhm.
he's kind of like us."
I mean, he has
But
a
then
cool
he,
outfit, looks
yep,
cool. Like,
powerful quirk. Like
hmm
saved Koichi when Knuckle Duster wasn't around. So he's like, "Yeah, Knuckle Duster, you need to meet him." And Knuckle knows what's up. He's like, this guy sounds uh, I forget the words that were used, but this guy sounds like he uses his own moral code, and that gets dangerous very quickly. That it's a slippery slope essentially. And so Knuckle Duster was never like 100% on like, yeah, pro Stendhal. So then when Knuckle Duster is around, he's you know he's like, yep, nope, that was accurate. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the definition for vigilante, I think they switched the definition during this episode for Stendhal, because I think they got into more detail about using judgment or personal judgment for someone as a vigilante definition. But I may be misremembering that because it went by so fast.
yeah, I would have to. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to definitely check that as well. So he's about to kill them, like you just said. Knuckle Duster arrives. So then we get something we never thought we would see in this show, like a Knuckle Duster versus Sendal slash Stain. Like, so that
Mm-hmm.
was really, really cool. And, measuring the distance between one another, and you can't cross this or this one's going to
You can't
happen.
cross this line. He's like, all right, well, you never accounted for this. And Knuckles fucking decks him across the face, and he's like, but you said, and he's like, I never said I wouldn't. I said you couldn't cross the line. I didn't say I couldn't cross the
Yeah, no,
line.
he blasted Stain in the face, like knocked off his mask. That's where I remember setting this to. This one, Knuckle had that line about like he's met plenty of people who use like masks to take on different personas.
Bonas.
Adding to the conditional application of a new self can cause people to grow cocky. He advises Koichi to watch out for people like them since they are the first to throw away self-preservation and morals. Through breaking the mask would easily shatter that and send him back down to earth. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's where Sendal. So, Lord Knuckle Duster is the reason Stain exists.
Yes,
Like
one thousand
there's
percent.
There's the new lore building.
That
Mhm.
knock to the head is what finally did it. And that speech, it wasn't just the knock to the head, it was
Yep.
that speech because he did hear that and he was
Mhm.
ruminating on it. Because then when he goes back to whatever hideout it is, I don't know if it's his apartment, some random place, he's ruminating on it. Queen Bee is trying to talk to him or convince him to do shit. He's like, "Stop talking, you're annoying." Having this whole like epiphany.
Mhm.
Although I wish there was a better word because again, I think he technically regresses from becoming sane. I'm gonna stand on that. I believe he regresses. Because he ruminates on that and is like, when that mask, the mask, once the mask shatters, blah 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 blah. So essentially, he turns his face into a mask, and that's how he has no nose.
Oh
We
yeah.
get to see the implication of him cutting off his own nose.
Yep.
He cut off his nose to spite his face to
Yep.
become Stain. And
Yep.
so in our, if you watch My Hero first, in our first interaction with him, he's already beyond a person. His mask is now his face. So
Mhm.
like it's not coming off anymore. It will never come off again.
Yep. Yep.
Wild.
Yeah, he's more. He's been. Yeah, I mean, figure with no face, taking on the color of blood, trail as he supposed for others to follow, so that the stains of his blood will guide the
Mm,
world forward. Hence the new name. It's just crazy to think in watching that episode. I was just like, wow, so good, we didn't know. Like Knuckle Duster
hmm
is the reason like this stain that we have currently exists, and hearing those words and getting his nose smashed in and saying like, "Oh, that's something worse than villains, heroes with phony resolve." So that it
hmm
magically changed from like from killing villains, I'm gonna kill phony heroes, and like you
Yeah,
said,
because
that's a good
apparently for
point.
him, phony heroes are now worse than any level of criminal.
Mm-hmm. Like that is a very, it's crazy how that change happened, and you make the good point. Like, yeah, maybe he has regrets because he's just leaving the criminals be, and if you take out the phony heroes, it's still a hero taken out. That's less people to stop.
Well, now that you specifically, obviously, his thing has always been phony heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I've never looked at a full list of his victims. The victims that we're most familiar with are, his assault on Ingenium. Ingenium wears a mask.
Mm.
And then he was going after, I'm forgetting the name of the hero, but he was in the like Native American garb and
Mm-hmm.
he has a thing, I think, over his eyes. So is he going, like, I wonder if the quote unquote phony heroes is not sole based on like their intentions of being a hero, like you and I have talked about in plenty of previous podcasts talking about My Hero. Um, or if there is a component that all of them have their face covered or partially covered.
I also don't think they have, I don't
I
think
don't
they
think
have a
they've really ever
list.
told us. Yeah.
He's murdered 17
Yeah.
and crippled 24 to the point of being basically have to retire.
Right. Ingenium is one of those 24.
And he is,
Native, that was the name of the
yeah,
hero.
and this is crazy. And his status, he has killed the most people since All Might's debut on record.
Yikes.
And All Might's been, what did they say? It was 20 years? 20 years in number
Something like
one?
that. Yeah, a few decades.
And he's killed the most people. Yeah, because when he debuted, so like a new person, because then like All for One doesn't count because he's
Right.
predates All
Pre.
Might.
Yeah.
Because that's even crazy too, because technically even Shigaraki hasn't even killed that many people.
Well, he has now in
He
this
has
timeline
now.
when he like he's disintegrated a bunch of people. Heck, his body count when he was like 6 was what? 4? 5.
Something like
His
that, yeah.
sister, his mom, his dad, and his 2 grandparents, that's 5. He had a body count of 5 before he was 10.
There were some accidentals,
Again, those were
and
accidents. Those were accidents. To be fair, they were
like the
accidents. I will give
Stains
him that.
ones were all because even before, like, yeah, because even when he became like all his thing was killing all, he really wasn't killing people until like he got that transformation and
Right.
like, so that's just an
Right.
interesting stat for Stain.
And he only yeah, cuz and he only maimed Overhaul.
Hmm.
He didn't kill anybody in the USJ incident.
No,
He didn't kill anybody at the mall.
Nope.
He he obviously didn't kill Stain.
Nope.
Man, it really would all just be post-war from essentially when he disintegrated that whole town.
Yeah, so it's not even him by like, because like Stain was getting upfront personal killing these people.
Yeah,
Like Shigaraki, like
is
was
from a
just
distance.
yeah from a distance. So all right, so yeah, we find out how Stain is. That's another great part of this. Episode 7, which actually to me, I don't know about you, but it
Hmm.
was actually my favorite episode out of the four because
Interesting.
because of the overall world building, new
Right,
facts and connections made.
right.
Like
I think
that
from
that was
yes,
cool.
that was really, really cool. I think that didn't quite reach the Stain reveal, Stendhal Stain thing from the two previous episodes, so I wouldn't say episode 7 was my favorite for that reason. But once that connection was made at the end, oh, I was hyped. I was looking around. I was like, no freaking way. I was just thinking she was going to be like a bothersome. So Koichi meets one of his like seniors in college, and she is,
Makoto.
excuse me, essentially, yeah, she's willing to help him out with, his harder sociology class. And she has a really good research question, which is basically like, how did society decide which of the vigilantes they would raise up as heroes and which
Hmm.
ones would they relegate and some imprison as villains? And
Hmm.
so she asks Koichi that question, and he's like, popularity? And she's like, well, that's not necessarily a bad answer because, the popularity ratings, the number one hero, all that good stuff, blah, 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 is mostly based on popularity, as we know from My Hero. If you're just watching Vigilantes, you didn't know that, which is awesome. But she's like, I'm still trying to answer that question. So, like, she doesn't have the answer to that question. And in part of like, I don't know if she's a journalism student. That's what it is. So
Hmm.
she's studying journalism, and so she's interested in the vigilantes at the, is it Naruhata? Is that the name of the province?
Yeah, there's a little
Their little city,
prefecture. Mm.
province, prefecture, whatever the terminology is. I'm not good at that. But she wants to interview or observe the vigilantes in that area. And she's basically set it up. I'll help you study if you, because you live in this district. And how does she know that? Because of the negative incident from college getting around. So she knows his reputation, but she also, through that reputation, knows that he lives in that area. So she asked him to like try to take her around so she can do interviews with people about their feelings regarding the vigilante. And I thought it was really funny listening to everybody, talk about Knuckle Duster, Pop Step, and then the crawler,
Yeah.
even
So
though his name is Crueler.
Ruler, and that's actually going to be a big reason for something later on in that episode. But before they went on the thing, when they were talking about the hero history, which I really want to make sure we highlight on here, how first she
Mm-hmm.
talked about one, the hero licensing system across the whole world. The first place, Rhode Island. I don't know why the hell the manga they decided to pick Rhode Island as the place where this
Rhode
all
Island.
happened, but whatever. So that was very
Rhode Island's on
interesting.
it. It's the smallest state in the United States, and I knew it was going to be in the U.S. Like there was not a bone in my body telling me that it was going to be the first one in the whole world, and it was not going to be in the United States. I honestly, to get political for just a touch, just a tad, I figured it would be coming from a red state, so I was thrown off by it being a blue state of Rhode Island. However, it is the smallest, and I feel like for the most part, they're on their shit. So
So,
they would want to create order probably quick and would be able to create order quicker as a smaller state.
but the debate is the order right because out of the 189 vigilantes that were operating at the time of the Rhode Island state new state statute was passed, so basically the first hero licensing thing,
Mm-hmm.
only 7 out of the 189 got to be officially heroes,
Heroes,
while the
yeah.
rest literally became villains. And then Makoto said the line, which this was where I was really starting to love this episode and getting into it, how like the licensing system wasn't originally created to promote heroes. It was basically instead to personally define what makes someone a villain so they could be legally prosecuted. And I was just like,
executed.
oh my goodness gracious. That is
Also
crazy.
why also why I thought it would have been done by a red state first, but I digress. Yeah, most anything again, since this the first happened in the United States, most anything we do statute wise is to outlaw things, is to be able to give language to, okay, yeah, this is not okay. And so if all these things are not okay, then we'll talk about what is okay. And that's a much smaller, finer group. I was honestly, when she was saying those lines, I was kind of thinking in my head, like 180 something. My guess, my guess was actually about 10 because because I know us. I know the United States. So yeah. But then when she said 7, I was like, ooh, A,
Well, to
not
go
too far
on,
off. B, that's still terrible. The fact
no,
that,
it's bad. That's bad.
oh man.
But to go off of some of your stuff we're talking about
Because in
the
all likelihood,
oop.
I'm sorry. I'm
No, I was
sorry.
gonna say to go off
I was
of
going to say,
what
I
you
mean,
were. Oh, we're cutting, going back and forth. I was gonna say to go off
I'm
your
sorry.
color. You're fine about your the color of states thing. Just to do that, it was like they said even present day. Obviously, usage is hotly debated, while some saying the right to bear arms and
Yep.
self-determination are being infringed upon by the regulations of
Mm-hmm.
their abilities like this, and others believe the term hero and villain feel arbitrary in several cases. So, really want to dive into the first part of that about the bear arms
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So, what are your thoughts in terms of that in the My Hero world that their
I mean,
right to bear arms?
my first literal interpretation of that is like, what's his name? Mr. Snipe or
Hmm.
Naga. Literally, the quirks involve guns. So they can't use their quirks. Like a lot of the states across the United States have like the standard ground laws and different, you know, self-defense determining laws.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, the right to bear arms for the most part should be predicated on the sense of like you're being infringed upon, you're in duress, you're in danger. So to me, I would think it's okay to defend yourself. Use your quirk to defend yourself. Like if Todoroki's sister, if she was being attacked and she just, freezes somebody solid, she shouldn't be labeled a villain for that because she, used her quirk as not a pro hero. Like where, yes. So it's those fine lines, and it's things get very messy and hairy anytime fine lines come into it and you get into the gray, which is most of life. But I did think that was funny that they brought that up and tied that in. And I was just like, well, that sounds about spot on, actually. So yeah, it all depends on what the quirk is. And, you know, I guess to our knowledge, to be fair, Koichi, that was one of my thoughts watching the very first episode, that's he's using his quirk to get places himself. Not really hurting anybody, he's not really doing anything, but my understanding was you're not supposed to use your quirk unless you have a license. So you're supposed to go about your everyday business like you don't have a quirk.
Yeah, he's probably just getting lucky because his quirk isn't the
Right.
greatest thing. Maybe because of hindsight, I think those people that infringed on right to bear, I think they're right in this for the only reason being is probably
Mm-hmm.
because fast forward now, I mean, how many how many people could have used their quirk to help in season 6, 7, or 8? But they're not heroes. They
To
wanted to
come
go
get,
they want,
to come, like,
yeah. I mean, seriously,
they
because they
needed
wanted to
bodies,
live
they
a
needed help,
normal,
they,
yeah,
mm-hmm,
like they
to
wanted to live a
defend.
normal life. Yeah, they wanted to defend themselves. But if you defend yourself from Shigaraki's army, but then it's like, oh, you still use your quirk. Like, remember, they were fighting for their lives in season 2, Ida, Todoroki, and Midoriya against Stain. And the police commissioner is like, "Oh, you're technically not supposed to use your quirk. You're supposed to be punished, but we'll let that slide because you guys got Stain." If they didn't get Stain and Midoriya wasn't the main character, they might have been suspended.
Suspended? No, they probably would have been expelled and
Sure.
barred from any sort of hero program. And hell, again, two gentle criminals, route. They
Hmm.
could have been deemed criminals,
Yep.
and twice too, because it was some minor bullshit for him too that he was initially charged with and just kept having it pile on.
Yep.
And his whole story is once the both of them, once you're labeled, that shit sticks.
Yep. So,
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, again, to me, I think there's a line, of course, when it's life and death, for sure. I don't know that you would necessarily suspend the need for a license to fight in a war because you also don't want untrained people using their quirks in ways that they've never really tried to before. They don't understand how it works. Plus, they don't have any battle experience, which is also kind of part of why it's like, why do you have 15, 16-year-old children in this? They've never fought, you know, life or death wise per se. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
But
that's,
again,
but just think about when
mhm,
they were looting. Like, those people couldn't defend themselves when,
right,
the world went to hell because all the heroes were quitting and and then like all of that jazz. And so just that situation. Oh, I
right.
can't. Now the villains are running amok. The heroes aren't doing anything. If I do something to protect, I'll put in this situation. And I mean, this maybe near because obviously you're a woman. So, and you've seen the things where a woman who shoots their abuser, they're the one who gets charged and they're the one who goes to prison. It's
Yep.
this almost the same thing in the
Hmm.
My Hero from what Makoto was taught, and hence why I really just like this episode, like the real life
Right.
stuff and connecting. Because when we started My Hero, you can't use your quirk unless you're licensed. You're bad if you
Hmm.
don't. Everyone's so rigid, blah blah blah. And then the hero
Right.
system is a flaw. We once we saw later on with all the traitors, and then
Right.
now we're getting this backstory from Makoto, and it's just like, wow, this is really what's been going on
This is
and how
what
it came to
really
be.
got us to where we are. Yep.
Exactly, exactly. So it's just
Yep.
like, and again, I guess people, because like you said, if Tartarus is the only place. Would you rather go sit in a prison with real like criminals at Tartarus? Or would you rather just get beat up
Hmm.
in your house and someone rob your stuff? Or would you rather get sexually assaulted and just be like, hey, I'll fight. At least I'm still on the outside. If I would have used my quirk, they would have arrested me too. Because here's the
Right.
one thing too that, and again, maybe we'll see it down the
I'm
line
hoping so.
because of Makoto and all that. We have not seen a My Hero Academia lawyer.
Mm.
Like I was thinking about that. We've had cops, we've had basically the UN with the World Hero Society, schools, all
There
of
has to
that.
be. At this point, yeah, especially if there's arguments within the United States about the constitutionality, essentially, of the right to bear arms and the rigidity of being able to use your quirk within that context, there's definitely probably quirk related lawyers.
But I want to
And if
see
and
it.
when, right, right, if and when that gets brought up, obviously we're going to have a field day and we're going to have to invite a resident lawyer to the podcast
I
to
just want to know.
discuss.
I just want to know what it's like because I'm thinking of like a super, obviously the most famous lawyer superhero is Daredevil. So it's just like, is what would a lawyer in My Hero defend? Would they defend people using their quirks to protect themselves? Would they be like, nope, it's against the law? Are they the ones putting who's the lawyer who put general criminal away for no reason? Who are those people? Like the prosecutors and the judges, because obviously the whole system is flawed. So
Mm-hmm.
we've just never seen that. We've seen the police and all that, but that just it's just so interesting how it's My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 7 where we got that stuff. And if this show did not decide to become an anime before the final season, most people wouldn't even know about this.
No, no, they would have had to have, heard about it or decide to go looking for more content, come across Vigilantes and decided to read it. Because I know when the work friend of mine told me about it and told me about how much world building it does and all that good stuff, is like, oh, that sounds really interesting. I hope it gets animated. And then I figured, like if it doesn't, then, when I pluck up the courage or find the time or, find the gusto, whatever you want to call it, yeah, I'll go and read it. But
Yeah.
most likely it would have been years down the line. And we also the decision to do this before we get the last season, I
Hmm.
think is partially intentional because there's going to be points, I hope at least, that we're picking up from Vigilantes that are going to play out in the final season of My Hero. At least I hope so.
Or when it's all said and done, the massive repercussions of everything finally just
Mm-hmm.
coming to a head. Because I mean, we saw it all happen after the Hawks exposing of him killing twice, and
Mm-hmm.
then I mean Dobby's dance, and then no one trusting the government, and then all the people are like, oh, the heroes aren't doing anything, you guys suck. Like it all just culminated in those
Yeah.
seasons, and it all stemmed from this. All these 5 years before it was building. So this, how did you feel about Quirk soccer? I know that's been a running joke the past couple weeks because it's the first time because President Mike's the one who does like the
The
quirk so
intros,
and
yeah.
so. And then he was just like, quirk, soccer. And then he was just like,
Soccer.
wait, how's that a quirk?
Yeah. The fact that he said it was just like top tier. And B, I'm also looking at this like, am I watching the right anime? Ain't you supposed to be in Blue Lock? Like,
That's
what
funny.
is happening? That he does all this super cool stuff if he's playing soccer. It's like, that is a very strange quirk. A, B, how do you figure that out? Like all
Right,
of a sudden you're a small child and like, yeah, mom, I want to play soccer. You start playing soccer and boom, like beast mode immediately, but only when you play soccer.
right. That
Okay.
was just that was hilarious. You know, little purse snatcher guy. You know, they take care of him, and then we get to the crux of the end of this episode, like you said. Makoto has a
Mm-hmm.
quirk,
Yep.
polygraph, which is
Yep.
wild, which allows her to detect the authenticity in the words of someone she makes physical contact with. So she is
Mm-hmm.
basically a walking, talking beauty
Polygraph
lie
test.
detector test. Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
she is shaking Koichi's hand. And this is the funny part because she messed up because she
Yeah, she did.
said, are you the crawler? The crawler, basically the pervy, whatever the version that everyone calls him, not the
Yeah.
crawler. And you know, he was just like, no,
No.
because that is not
And
who
we're
he
all just like,
identifies as.
it's not his name. She's like, are you the crawler? And he's like, no. And we all know, and we're all like, oh my God, she's got him. Like somebody else is gonna know about his identity. Oh my goodness. And it was just like, are you the crawler? No, nonchalant. And she's like, that's weird. Who
I feel
wasn't
like that.
lying?
I feel like that prefecture, that little town, they don't like. I feel like they don't get enough support from like the rest of the city and stuff because obviously the
Right.
people in
I
the
think,
city they know who he is because we know he does not do that best job keeping his face covered. And like obviously the
right.
little
No.
Wolverine and Cyclops know who he is, and they didn't tell her.
Right.
But it's just like it's one of those like you said with the small town university. It must be like a really like small type ass thing because no one would have went because again she's a very good looking person. Someone could have just said it for clout, like, hey, if you go on a date with me, I can tell you who these
Yeah.
vigilantes are, and no one did. So it feels like they have a very like that town has been
Tight
so
knit community.
overlooked,
Yeah.
and finally someone's looking out for him. But
Right. And I think that's why overwhelmingly, like for him, like they're in favor. Knuckle Duster, it's not that they're not in favor of him or not his fans. It's just that he's rough around the edges. And he's kind of scary and
rough
talks with
around
his
the
fist. So,
talks with his fist, rough around the edges. Pop stars all about her booty cheeks. Um,
oh, I
and
know.
Crawler is just man, they were still killing this man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you know, he tries to, he's a little creepy, all down, just like,
It's a little creepy, but overall, like they like him, but it's a little creepy. And honestly, one of his comments early on, I don't remember which episode it is, but the fact that he's so right, because if a hero, is swinging from the building tops, is flying, is a like above them, so people have to look up, there's that automatic air of awe. But if you have to look down, generally your immediate thought is disgust. And so that's why
Hmm.
they constantly have and the fact that he has to glide on at least 3 points. So he's on the ground, 3 points touching at all times to be able to move. So his comparison is always to a cockroach, and that really sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't help him.
So then more like those comments for all of them were hilarious and stuff, but then more lore building because she thinks
Mm-hmm.
she's losing her touch. She's just in a little apartment space typing. Lord and behold, who walks in? The young man we know now as the head of the police.
Please.
It's like,
Oh my
and
God.
basically, oh,
Yes.
hit him with the knee. We're like, brother and sister.
What? Yeah, that was wild. That was so cool. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. But then it makes sense because All for One had alluded to the fact that so he never called it a polygraph quirk. However, we know that he somehow picked up a quirk that allows him to detect if someone's lying by listening
Ooh,
to them.
you think he yanked her stuff?
And then when he's talking about it, is that no, 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 no. So listen, when he's talking about that quirk, or later on talking about how, time plays out in the interconnections and whatever, he specifically mentions that, someone he got a quirk from is helping the heroes now and is part of the police, and it pans to Sukauchi. It does. We see a eagle eye view of him talking to, I think it's Sansa, the cat person,
Yep.
like planning something. And so that kind of alludes to who he's talking about that he got a quirk from was related to Sukauchi. And now we know his sister has a polygraph quirk that allows her to know if somebody's lying when she's touching them.
Hmm.
So it's not that hard to pin together that probably their predecessor, either one of their parents, maybe grandparents, is who he got that quirk from that allows him to know if someone's lying by listening to their voice.
Yeah,
So
and
I don't know.
hmm.
I don't know if that's like canon. I don't know if that's like specifically stated anywhere, but that's another connection in there that's kind of like very lightly laid out that I hope is 100% true.
Or we'll never find out.
Maybe we won't. Just
But
like we still don't know who Midoriya's dad is. That's been popping up on my Instagram lately, and it's starting to bug the shit out of me. I
well,
need to know who this man is.
here's the thing because I mean, hence the best social media has its pros and cons. The worst cons of it is that if you're really into something, staying away from spoilers and whatnot. If they haven't
Mm-hmm.
spoiled who his dad is, and the manga's been almost over for almost a year, then
Mm-hmm.
they probably don't reveal him.
Rude.
But
Rude.
then
But off topic, of course.
the siblings having their little, which is cool. I mean, it's basically having a debate about, he's all about law and order. She's like, oh, it's not
Uh-huh.
that simple.
Not
And
that
he's like,
simple.
I'm not doing this today because, it's late and you're a better arguer than me. So I think that dynamic is very, very interesting. She also said a line about, are there any big wig people you can get me a thing with, like with all my, like, it says all mine and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm assuming, obviously, as siblings, you probably know each other's quirks, but I'm assuming like she's touched him, like, grabbed him on the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder. And so I'm also starting to think because she's asking that, he doesn't know All Might's secret yet.
That's what I was getting to. And I wondered if because he's related to her, if he has a similar quirk, and that's how he finds out about All Might's like identity. I wondered if that was how, because yeah, it does seem like he doesn't know at this time. Or, I mean, because My Hero has a history, um, Star and Stripe, of having like really kind of silly loopholes in quirks,
Hmm.
where I wondered if she would ask him, like, pat him on the shoulder, like, hey, bro, like, do you know All Might's secret identity? And he'd just be like, I'm not answering that.
Or a
That's not saying yes
simple,
or no. I'm not answering that.
yeah, or a simple thing. Why don't they ever say, blank and blank, aka All Might. They just say All Might.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I really love this episode. Seeing such a powerful ability like polygraph, and then just wondering where the hell have you been?
Right.
Because in all seriousness, me, I think she has. I mean, she probably survives, but if if you were just didn't look ahead, she'd have to be dead. Because if you're telling me the police chief, and obviously with the UA thing and all that, the beginning of season one, you knew there was a traitor amongst you guys, but you didn't bring this girl in to try and use her powers.
Interrogate anybody to ask, like
She's
just
got to
go.
be
You
gone. She's got to be gone.
she's got to be gone out of the country. Maybe had some sort of incident where her quirk got stolen.
Yeah,
Because hell, we don't know all the different quirks that freaking All for One has. Like we don't know if he, traced their lineage and figured out her quirk and just like stole it and gave it to Shigaraki. We don't know.
because that quirk is extremely powerful.
Yes.
And all you
Yes.
have to do is touch someone
Mm-hmm.
like that is, and you don't even know what's going on.
No, you have zero clue. Like she just extended her hand to thank Koichi, for his time. And so he shakes her hand and she's like, "Hey, are you that like the one poignant question that she needs to have answered? She just needs to bring out of the blue while she's touching you. That's it. That
Hmm.
is it. You have no, unless your quirk is foresight, hashtag night eye, or
One for all, and the previous wielders block it, kind of like they blocked
right.
whatchamacallits guys.
Yes.
What Shinsho. I was like, why am I blanking on this man's name? So,
Oh, yeah, Shinsho, Mr.
how
Purple,
how they
Aizawa Jr.
how they blocked him, how they blocked his stuff from
Mm-hmm.
interfering. So that's why I'm just like, man, there's so much. She's destined for she. There's so much more this girl could be doing or did, or we don't know why she leaves or if she's dead, and we're gonna find all that stuff out. But she's already instantly become because of her personality and her explaining stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then also just the cool stuff of the next episode, the last one, episode 8, which I was rewatching for the first time. It was hilarious.
Hilarious.
Like
Oh my God, yeah.
this one made me laugh a lot because you can't tell me 2 episodes ago, Stain was talking all his stuff becoming Stain. This is the type of hero that Stain would absolutely hate.
Hate. Oh my God, yes. I hate this man. And the fact that he's an American hero makes me so angry.
He's a
What's
it's
his name? Captain.
Captain CC, Captain
Oh,
Celebrity. Let's
Captain
go.
Celebrity. I was remembering the C. I was like, it's not Cap. I was thinking Captain Crunch for a second. What? Yeah, CC has his own hype crew. Is known to be a womanizer. His wife sued him for his philandering. He's terrible. Oh, hey, Koichi, can you like parry this guy that, you don't have any superhuman strength, but it looks better when I save the girl in for the photo op. So like you take that one. Okay, cool, thanks. I hate him. Oh my God, I hate him. Part of me, part of me really thinks he set up some of those quote unquote, incidents
That's what I
to
was thinking at
have
the
like
beginning. Yeah.
me too. I'm still thinking it because I still don't trust him as far as I can throw him, or as deep as his butt chin is. And I say that as somebody with a butt chin. Okay, like
Uh,
rude. Don't like you,
oh
sir.
man, I was loving it, like absolutely loving it. The fact that he currently, right now, is the top ranked pro hero in America. So obviously, from now and the time skip, that's when Stars and Stripes becomes the. So she's probably still training, or she's still climbing up the ladder. Um, it is the fact that it was typical. I can't save them yet. The press isn't here, so they're not gonna get my pictures and all of that. And need the press. I don't really,
Hmm.
I don't really save guys in my arms. I only save the ladies. Um, he was just so damn funny because also when he signs Koichi's stuff and obviously he's pissed the first time because it's
Hmm.
All
It's his
Might
All Might
stuff.
hoodie. He's only got one.
But that is
And then he signs the
hilarious.
back after another incident. Oh man, I don't like him. Like it was good for the laughs, but also just like, do you remember all of the memes that came out when Star and Stripe came and was like, how much Japan loves America? Look at them like glazing us with Star and Stripe, and then all
Hmm.
these other examples of American characters in different anime. And then we
Hmm.
get this guy, and it's like, you know what? They're like, actually, ah, here we go.
No, it's funny because obviously when he saves him the first time, um, he's obviously calling All Might a boring snooze fest compared to him. He leaves, has his own thing. The trio's back at Koichi's place, and Knuckle
Hmm.
Duster, saying the media reports edited because you're not calling him by his other nickname, Captain
Yeah.
Catastrophe. That title came from the mountain of scandals and lawsuits he's racked up. Presumes that the hero moved to this country because he couldn't to evade all his legal issues back home, which is hilarious because that is a real
Yep.
thing people do.
All the
Um,
time.
yeah, so that and then he's coming, and then when we continue on, he's saving the people. Always has his stuff going. And before we really talk about him specifically, he has a little cheerleader group. And look who's back in the
Hmm.
next episode as a cheerleader. Makoto is one of the cheerleaders. Um, and it is funny because, he notices her and wants to take her out on a date. And then
Uh-huh.
Koichi is getting jealous.
Yep.
And then Popstep is getting jealous
Is
that
getting
Koichi is
jealous.
jealous of that.
Well, Pop Step was also getting jealous when like he was just getting study tips from her and like
Hmm.
taking her around. So yeah, that whole thing. And I'm still okay. So I may have been wrong in the last podcast because I think I said she was 14.
Hmm.
And I was getting really upset because I was like, "Bro, you're 14, he's 19. I don't like this. I don't like this at all." Like I get the whole like crush on your senpai thing. Senpai, excuse me. Thing. Okay, fine, but like, can we like not, please? Like, we already have a heart over your ass crack, please. And then I'm talking to a friend of mine again, and he actually says that she's in high school, like late high school. And so I tried to look it up, and there are some sources that are saying that she's probably 16, 17, not 14, 15, but it's not confirmed.
You know what's funny
And I'm not
too?
really,
Her
yeah.
birthday's actually, I saw the thing. Well, in Japan it was yesterday. Her birthday is actually today. Like in the United
Oh,
May
look at that.
28th. Yep.
Well, then, now at least she it might be 15 instead of 14, or 16 instead of 15, or 17. Anyway, like I don't like that age gap. I don't like the whole idea of I am personally, this is a personal thing. I'm personally getting a little tired of the high schooler having a massive crush on an adult, and then the quote unquote happy ending of the story is that the adult like finally like gives essentially the kid a chance because they are in high school. They are a child. They're under 18. Anyway, it's just, yeah, I'm a little sick of it. I thought it was cute when I was little, but like, no. So, yeah. But she was getting jealous during that episode. And then at the end of this one, I think is when she brings up the fact that, no, it's during the whole cheerleading scene that she brings up, like, oh my gosh, look at that mini skirt. Like, what are they doing? And then Koichi looks at her, like, her skirt is not even a mini skirt. I would call that a micro skirt.
Yeah.
It's like an inch or two of fabric
Says she uses it
going
for
halfway down
performance.
her hips. Like it's, and she's like, well, this is my costume. It's like, girlfriend, they're in cheerleading costumes. it's the same. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's cool when I do it, not cool when they do it. When you're jealous, like I don't like that. But of course, it's because she's got a schoolgirl crush, and partly so, of course, because he saved her when she was a small kid, and she looks up to him because she's always viewed him um as like a real hero. Speaking of which, I forgot to bring this up earlier. I really don't understand why UA wouldn't have had a makeup test because unless it just wasn't a big school at the time, which I doubt. Sorry if you're picking that up. My cat's got the zoomies. Um, that I could have sworn Midoriya's group, like there were multiple entrance exams. Like not all of the examinees did the same. They did the same test, but it wasn't all at the same time. So I don't know why if Koichi didn't show up, he couldn't have called them and been like, something happened. Can I take it on a different day? Like I do kind of wonder about like why he wouldn't have had like a second opportunity to do it unless it was again as we get into in the most recent episode his like familial situation, and maybe it was like he could have had a second opportunity but his family couldn't afford to send him to Tokyo to take the test a second time, or they told him this is your one shot and we're not supporting you type deal. I don't know, but I did think that was weird that he only had the one shot to get into UA, and when he didn't show up that was it.
I mean, I think, yeah, with that's actually a good question. Maybe they changed that because of events that unfold here. But with with the captain over here, real name Christopher Skyline, and then he takes Makoto on the date and all that stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I think he perfectly like categorized some people's like a stereotypical celebrity. I mean,
Yes.
especially when they came to like the womanizing aspect of it and all the scandals. I mean, mostly everyone's, if you like a celebrity who's in music or just social media, whatnot, they've been in their own scandals plenty of time. The womanizing stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that comes, I mean, that's they come and go, especially now in this day and era. So I was just like, all right, he's pretty realistic. Um, to me, that just tells me that like he is also gonna get like a coming to Jesus redemption arc story, and probably in this show. Um,
You, I guess I'm just being a negative Nancy in the sense of I think this is like he still set up some of those things to like start the pro press train in
mhm.
his favor, and I think we'll uncover some other like not so heroic things that he's done, and I'm thinking for him it's going to be Japan was his plan for redemption, but it's going to be his crash out and the end of his career that, something's going to be uncovered and he's not going to be able to do hero work anymore. Or
We'll
he'll
see.
step away because it's too big of a scandal.
We'll see. I mean, his cheating on his wife has been all like that's not doing shit. That doesn't
Hmm.
cheating on your spouse doesn't do shit in the grand scheme of things in the real world anyway,
True.
unless your spouse is your boss or coworker. Um,
Hmm.
but like with Makoto and them going on the date, and then she's on the phone. This was hilarious how she was on the phone with his
With his wife.
with his wife, and basically, because he's like, oh, it's just a work thing, and then it went from, he's not trying to make it a work thing, he's trying to get with Makoto, and it's like, oh, nope. Then how did Makoto get his number? They collected online last week. Say that she's been inquiring her if her husband's been messing around with girls since it could function as evidence against him in their lawsuit, and that's about this
Hmm.
do spot. So then obviously he has a
Oh,
funny
and
little that
that
was
means
hilarious.
Makoto is a girl's girl. So love that for her because when that was all happening, like when he was insinuating what he was insinuating during the date, I was like, oh no, this is gonna go bad because then if she says no, then the whole thing, and then her brother's involved and he's the head of the police, and then she just pulled out oh, you mean I have your wife on the phone? That's funny that you say that. Like me and her are real close. She's been asking me about you actually, and so he goes into the whole like whimpering, like I'm so sorry, honey. Like no, this is a misunderstanding. Blah blah blah. Made me gag a little bit, roll my eyes.
Yep,
But
changed his
yeah,
corporate
Changes
image,
tune real quick.
which was hilarious. So they're doing all of that, and that's basically the main thing. But then you also have like Koichi ready to face his toughest adversity, his mom.
Yes. Yes. And like someone who had like a fairly strict mom growing up, like I felt that to my core and the whole like, okay, gotta deep clean the apartment, gotta make sure like all these things. Of course, Koichi's mom is definitely a level above that. But the hilarity that is set up for the next episode is the fact that on top of like saying, he's really valued at work and school is going great, and we don't necessarily have anything to the contrary that school isn't going great. We don't know about his grades at all. um but the fact that he has a girlfriend, he threw that in there, and he's very much like, if she finds
Mm-mm-mm.
out that I've lied, like she hates lying. And Pop Step is there when he finds out that she's coming, and she's already on the train about to grab a bus to where he lives. So it's not like he's got advance notice. So of course, this is going to be Pop Step's opportunity to like be play girlfriend. And she's going to love every second of it. But a lot of this, basically, he puts a lot on this trip for his mom to be out there in the sense it needs to go well, because if not, then she'd be pulling the plug. Like he wouldn't be able to continue to stay. She would make it so that he has to go back home to the countryside. So this is his biggest hurdle, as you just said, and it's
Yeah.
his mom.
This is mom, and we'll see what happens episode 9. And then just with Christopher, Captain CC from the United States, perfect line to describe him. He's stereotypical 1990s, early 2000 movie American jock, arrogant, self-confident, overwhelming love and praise. But with all those faults, I can't lie. He is powerful. Like holy shit.
Yes.
Like I was just like,
Yes, he
"Oh my
is.
God." And I'm
Yep.
just sitting here. I was like, so where the hell? See, this is what's gonna piss me off. I'm like, so where were you at when we needed you? Maybe, but like
When the world needed you most, you vanished. The whole thing. Sorry, I've
this
been
man
watching
is
Avatar: The Last Airbender
flying.
recently.
He is flying. He
Mm-hmm.
is lifting submarines from the sea. Like I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, where
Do we
the
know his
hell?
quirk? Did they say his quirk?
It's basically it says it's flight. It grants him tactical telekinesis, allows him to fly at high speeds while utilizing his own personal force field of telekinetic energy.
Hmm. Okay. So then with the strength, I wonder if it's actually a manipulation of the telekinetic energy,
Yeah.
like that's around him. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So it's not actual, it's not brute strength, essentially, is what I'm getting at. Like Knuckle Duster has, like, and again, Knuckle Duster is proof in this universe that if you work hard, you could just be physically fucking strong AF.
Well,
You
there are
don't have to have.
some people tried to say him fighting that one thing, Knuckle Duster, was the greatest non-quirk feat ever in My Hero Academia history. And people had to shoot that down like, let's not forget tired, quirkless, and bleeding out. Lemillion was able to fight 2-on-1 against Overall, his little lackey, while protecting
For
Airy
sure.
quirkless. So yeah, that's up there, but let's not poo-poo
But
what Lemillion did as quirkless.
right. I think, I don't know. I'm still a little bitter about the announcement for the, 2024 or 2025 Anime Awards. 2024. I'm still pretty bitter about some of the results because I had recently watched Free Run. This is going to be my little soapbox. I recently watched Free Run. I love Solo Leveling. I read it as a webtoon. It was one of my first action webtoons I ever read. I love it. Season 1 of Solo Leveling did not deserve to beat Free Run. Season 1 of Solo Leveling did not deserve to beat Kaiju number 8. Like,
Well, that's a
I am
whole
really,
topic for another day
no,
because
no, no. I'm
there's a
tying
lot
this
of
in. No.
politics.
I know there are a lot of politics here, but I'm tying this in specifically here because I feel like this is an example of people always being, when they're amazed by something that's just happened, the immediate thought is that it's the best, and they kind of forget what's already come before it. So
Agreed.
like So like that's why I bring that up. And again, I know that's my soapbox, and it could be a whole other podcast, a very long one, especially if we get everybody else involved. But it's the idea of to say that something's like really good, you have to say it's like the best ever. But it doesn't have to be like your example here of that feat for Knuckle Duster saying like, oh, that's the best like non-quirk feat in the universe that we've seen. And it's like, uh, hold your horses. Like, no, but because it's so great and it's the most recent in your memory, our knee-jerk reaction is to say that's the top moment ever. And we're a little too quick, I feel like, to do that as a
Okay,
community.
agreed. Um, yeah, because he's gonna lift something with like he's immensely strong. Like this is actually kind of crazy. Like, where the fuck have you been, dude? Like, we could have really used you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is absolutely absurd. And it's like if you don't die, I'm gonna be really hot if they had a time where they had him and Stars and Stripes in the United States, and I was like, well, no wonder they're the United fucking States.
Right.
Here's the big thing, Andrew. I don't know if you know this, but which not just the My Hero Academia community, the entire anime world is waiting for this. If this does happen in Vigilantes, they
Mm-hmm.
want Captain Celebrity Chris
Mm-hmm.
to meet All Might.
Ooh,
The reason they want that is not even because of the characters and all that stuff.
really?
Um, it's because of who's playing them. In the English dub, obviously everyone knows Christopher Sabbath is All Might, and obviously his most famous character ever is Vegeta. People
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you haven't listened to the dub, and it's the craziest thing ever because it's completely opposite of this person's most famous character. Sean Schimmel is the voice actor for Captain Celebrity.
No
Who
way.
is Sean Schimmel the most famous for? The face of anime in general. Sean Schimmel is the English voice actor of Goku. So the
Goku.
fact that you can have a face off
Oh
between
my
the
God.
characters of Goku, the voice actors of Goku and Vegeta, in completely different roles from what they're most famous for. Because obviously Goku doesn't give a shit if people see him save people or not, and Vegeta has the arrogance in him. The fact that they have switched, and for that voice acting stare down to happen in My Hero Academia, that is what the world's waiting for right now.
Oh my God. I did not know that.
Hmm.
I had zero clue. That is amazing. And part of me really wonders if they did that, like the casting directors did that on purpose. If they did, they need a raise. Point blank
Well,
period. Because that is, oh my God, has this ever happened before? Do we know? Like if they
n-
voiced like
not for them
and
both to be in the same thing and having two like completely different.
characters, right?
I would also say something that's too, because obviously no one on the show is going to be ever bigger than like Goku or Vegeta, but the fact
No.
that you have like voice acting, like English voice acting royalty
Heavyweights,
saying
royalty,
that they
yes.
want to, and even Sean, like Sean never has, Sean doesn't have to do anything ever again. He's the voice actor for Goku. And the fact that, like, he was like, you know what? I'll do this. Oh, an arrogant American jock? I'll do that. The fact that he's lending his voice to that, and you already have Vegeta Sabbath, I think that just shows to the testament of My Hero, because I don't think any other anime is going to be like, yeah, we had Goku, we had Vegeta for 8 seasons, and we had Goku for Sean Schimmel decided to do our spinoff, where he's not the main character or anything. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if that's what everyone's waiting for, the voice that is what everyone is waiting for.
That is so cool. I love that. Yeah. No, because when you set that up, I figured, yeah, it was specifically for the character interaction, for honestly, probably the awkward, like laughing off of the fact that Captain Celebrity don't give two shits about All Might. Like,
No.
also, that's just, oh, but that's so perfect because that is a complete role reversal because Vegeta don't give
Hmm.
two shits about Goku. And
Hmm.
man, oh, I did not know that. And I am so happy I know now. Thank you. Thank you for that.
No problem. So, and both are playing blondies, obviously, akin to the Super Saiyan transformation. So,
Yeah. I was just thinking that too.
That is, it'll if they do have a scene together, it is going to be something else.
I hope one of them yells for an extended amount of time.
God, that would be something. I wonder if their contracts have that they can't really yell for extended amount of time on other shows because they've been doing it for their main show for like 20 years.
Right.
And then they have to do it
Uh,
for all the video games and all the
yep.
so I don't know. But
Yeah.
anything else, Andrea?
I don't think so. I wanted to confirm with you because I wasn't sure. How many episodes, do you know how many episodes are confirmed for Vigilantes? Is it 20?
I actually don't even think it is 20 in all honesty. I only think it's a shorter
Is
one.
it just the 12? Like, is it just like
Yeah,
a,
like
like,
12 to let's see. Yeah, like 12 to 13.
interesting? Because I know when I was looking for Pop Step's age, I came across how many volumes the manga was, and I realized
Hmm.
it wasn't that many. So I'm like, I'm sitting here as like, is this season going to be really long? And it's just, it all happens in this one season. Or might they do a short season and they will have a season two? I mean, we'll get more of a clue for that in how it ends, obviously. But yeah, I was just curious if you knew offhand if there
13.
was
It is
okay.
13. So it's 13 is weird because it says it has a total of 13 episodes for its first season, but the first season covers the whole, from what I'm told, the first season is going to cover like the whole run. So it's like, are they going to add more stuff? Are they going to do like, oh, we're going to give you a
Hmm.
backstory of why the hell no one came to help us save the world type thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Because
like,
then
but
but I don't know if there's emphasis, I don't know. Part of me, maybe I'm again wishful thinking and overanalysis. If they're really stressing like, the first season is it, but it's not the only season. Like it's saying the first season, but not, the sole season, the only season. So it could be that they might stretch it out a little bit into a second season. I'm hoping so, because if that's the case, episode 9 covers his conflict with his mom. And then we only have 3 more episodes after that, 4 more episodes after that.
yeah, so that would be if they don't take a break, June 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd. So it would end right before July. And
Hmm.
then in theory, if it's the same people working on 8, I wouldn't be opposed to that because then you get like July, August, September, maybe to get a little break. And then
Right.
maybe to start like revving up season 8 because season 8's about to be starts in October. So,
Yes.
and
In
then
all
again,
honesty, they've already started working on
oh
season 8.
yeah,
Let's be real.
but with the added content, because we know like each episode in Vigilantes, there's been something added that wasn't in the manga, like or they do in the
Mm,
show, like they add extra
stuff. Yeah.
stuff and like reshoots and all of that. And these people, these animators working on a whole bunch of different shows because they got to get ready for the fall season. So
Yeah. True. So I don't know. Part of me, I'm going to be really sad if we only do one more recap because I mean, it's just episode 9, 10, 11, and 12. That's 4 episodes.
and
We only
third,
do this for Vigilantes one more time. And 13. I mean, at that point, we would
technically,
just
yeah,
loop in 13 to.
yeah, yeah, that'll be the last time.
That'd be kind of sad.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anything else?
Nope. Just excited to see what comes next. If this really is going to be, all wrapped up so quickly or if we'll have a little bit more and how exactly it all ends, how much deeper it gets from here. Because again, like you've already mentioned, the few episodes we've already had have expanded our worldview of My Hero's universe and political structure, legal structure, sociological structure by so much. So I don't
Hmm.
know. We'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll see. With that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to, and we'll be back next time, which potentially is probably going to be the last episode of the Vigilantes story for us. We'll see how that goes. That being said, take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.